This is CBC Winnipeg News.
Good evening. Thanks for joining us. Main Street Project has been awarded the city's new contract to work with people living in encampments. It comes just weeks after people in Point Douglas raised concerns after a team of outreach workers from that organization were seen helping set up an encampment. Now, for the first time, the organization is speaking about the incident, and they say they now have more options to avoid similar situations in the future. CBC's Karen McLean reports.
Main Street Project is now the exclusive contractor doing outreach work for the City of Winnipeg. Previously, the city funded a number of organizations. Now, all calls about encampments will be forwarded to Main Street Project. They will take the lead on the provincial homelessness strategy, helping to move people out of camps and into housing. In May, some Point Douglas residents raised concerns after reports that a team from Main Street Project had helped set up an encampment. A man living here on Selkirk Avenue saw the team of outreach workers carrying supplies down to the riverbank. We spoke to several Point Douglas residents. They didn't want to go on camera, but they told us they're not happy Main Street Project has been awarded the new contract. Executive Director Jamil Mahmood says police officers asked their outreach workers to help move the people over fears about riverbank flooding, but no housing options were immediately available.
Fire may deem that because of life safety issues, the encampment needs to be moved or dismantled, and then those are situations where we'll work. Ideally, we have places to house people from those places, but that's not always the case.
Mahmood says Winnipeg Mayor Scott Gillingham and Housing Minister Bernadette Smith spoke to him about the incident and explained there are other options when safety concerns force camps to move.
I think what's different now and what was clarified in the Your Way Home strategy, and thanks to the Mayor and the Minister for clarifying that, is that now they're going to provide more resources so we have other options versus just moving an encampment from one location to another, where those are, looking at other temporary solutions. There's flex funding to find other options for folks.
Gillingham has said anyone doing outreach work for the city must be fully on board with the province's strategy, a point he made in meetings with Main Street Project.
And they're committed to the Your Way Home strategy. So everything there's nothing moving fast enough for anybody, I don't think. We need to see more progress faster, but everyone's working toward that end.
The funding in the contract will last until the end of the year, with the possibility of extensions for the next 2 years. Cameron McLean, CBC News, Winnipeg.
Another person has died after a Canada Day crash on Highway 10. RCMP say a southbound vehicle veered over the center line and slammed into another car, believed to be parked on the shoulder. Brendan Berg of the band Royal Canoe and his partner Olivia Michaelchuk were inside the parked car and died. Officers say the 29-year-old passenger of the moving vehicle has also since died. The 36-year-old driver is stable. RCMP say charges are possible and the investigation is ongoing. Winnipeg police are investigating a string of sexual assaults in and around Health Sciences Centre. Officers say 4 separate incidents happened between 7 and 7:45 yesterday night. The victims include 3 HSC staff members and a teenage girl. 3 of the incidents happened outside on the streets surrounding the hospital. The other occurred inside the hospital tunnel system. Police say the suspect is described as a man in his 20s with a slim build, dark hair, wearing a jet shirt and jewelry. A heat warning is in effect for southern Manitoba, with humidex values spiking to high 30s. For those unhoused, the heat can prove challenging. Felicia Adams spoke with organizations that are helping people to escape the heat.
You want to go on water? Yeah. Thank you. Have a good day.
This is just one of many water bottles Vincent Lilly will be handing out. He's part of a team trying to keep people hydrated.
There are signs that you can look for to see that maybe they might be more in need of water. But obviously we give it to anybody who's around and who's in our path.
We do run off of donations as well.
Matthew Hallchucker is part of the Downtown Community Safety Partnership. He says safety teams are on foot and in mobile units.
You want water?
On the lookout for those who may need shelter from the heat.
You want water? Thank you. You're welcome.
We do come across somebody that may be experiencing a heat-related emergency. They can check in with them, get the appropriate services, or transport them to somewhere that can support them, whether that be a medical center or a shelter.
At Silo Mission, more people are coming in for cold showers and water. As of Thursday afternoon, they had already handed out hundreds of water bottles.
We are also concerned about people being out on the street, perhaps sleeping and not realizing how dehydrated they are. So just ensuring that so much water goes out from the shelter to keep people hydrated and to prevent heat stroke.
This hydration station is one of 9 set up by the city so that Winnipeggers can get access to clean drinking water.
Megan Prince is part of the Women's Resource Center in Brandon. She's concerned there aren't enough spaces in the city to help unhoused people escape the rising temperatures.
I know staying out of the sun is very hard, especially with when people get told to leave certain public places, they don't really have anywhere else to go.
Hot and humid weather will continue Friday, but relief is expected Saturday. Felicia Adams, CBC News, Winnipeg.
Time now to bring in Riley Lanechuck. And Riley, you feel for the people that don't have a cool place to go to cool off, but also for those working outside during these temperatures.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, really, particularly as we head into Friday, once again, you'll want to remember the water, a hat, the sunscreen, and maybe find some shade if you're able to. As forecast, 32 degrees in Winnipeg this afternoon, 33 in Melita, 30s into the Parkland as well. Into the day on Friday, looking at temperatures pretty similar by the afternoon hours. By 4 o'clock in the afternoon Friday, Winnipeg at 31 degrees, 30 in Steinbach. Feeling closer to 40 with the humidity, but I wanted to talk about the dew point temperature because this is what really makes it feel muggy or not out there when we have those high dew point temperatures, the temperature at which we see water vapor turning into water itself, that temperature being 21 in Winnipeg tomorrow afternoon on the uncomfortable part of the scale. A little bit muggier than it was today across southern Manitoba, so prepare for another humid one tomorrow with the risk of thunderstorms once again as we get into the afternoon. I'll have more on that, Brittany, when I come back.
All right, thanks, Riley.
You're welcome.
A woman who claimed a $5 million lotto prize is disputing her ex-boyfriend's claim that the jackpot rightfully belongs to him. Crystal McKay was awarded the Lotto 649 prize in January last year, but her former boyfriend filed a lawsuit saying he's the one who bought the ticket and is the sole owner. McKay's statement of defense says she asked him to buy the ticket for her, and her boyfriend did not dispute it was hers after the number was drawn. Manitoba Liquor and Lotteries was also named in the man's lawsuit. It says it acted within the scope of its duties when it awarded the prize to McKay. People in Winnipeg's West End won't let their bank go without a fight. The Royal Bank in the area is set to close its doors, and today residents protested, saying it's a big loss for those without a car and on fixed incomes. The CBC's Ian Fraze reports.
This land is your land. This land is mine.
Some in Winnipeg's West End feel that same ownership over their bank. Convincing neighbors to sign a petition to keep it open proved easy.
I will sign. I heard they were closing this branch. I was really upset about it.
Next week, RBC is closing its branch on Sargent and Sherbrooke for good, leaving just one full-service bank in the neighborhood.
I hope they change their mind. And if they don't change their mind, I hope that another bank or a credit union will see how much we care about the bank.
During lunch Thursday, they held a demonstration featuring songs, petitions, and a message they wanted to send to RBC.
Think about someone who doesn't have a car, doesn't have a bike, someone who's a senior, to have to go to the next nearest bank, and so it becomes a tax on the poverty.
The Royal Bank has more than 20 branches in Winnipeg, but it's losing one on Sargent on July 10th and later this month on Main Street too. Area MP Leah Gazan says the two closures are a big setback.
It's no secret that Winnipeg Centre is one of the poorest ridings in the country. We still deserve the same sort of services.
RBC has already lost one customer.
I'm glad that it's closing because I think that when corporations say who they are, we should believe them.
RBC says it's closing these two branches after deciding how best to serve its customers who are increasingly banking online. Those people still coming into these branches are seeing a poster that says RBC is moving, not leaving, but people here say the bank is abandoning them. Ian Fraze, CBC News, Winnipeg.
A Winnipeg Jet is flying south after signing with a new team on day 3 of free agency. Nikolai Ehlers is officially a Carolina Hurricane. The winger has signed a 6-year, $51 million contract with the Canes. The 29-year-old has spent his entire career with the Jets after getting drafted back in 2014. He helped lead the Jets to the franchise's first President's Trophy as the top NHL regular season team. Ehlers added 5 goals and 2 assists in 8 playoff games this year after debuting late in the postseason due to injury. Still ahead, flights were grounded, causing multiple delays this morning after a number of airports across Canada faced bomb threats. More on what we know after the break. It was a chaotic start to the day for many air travelers across the country, including here in Winnipeg. Air Traffic Control Authority NAV Canada says operations are back to normal after bomb threats at multiple airports. Flights in several cities were grounded as authorities carried out searches. Nicole Williams has the details.
This was the scene at Ottawa's International Airport this morning. The terminal crawling with police officers, sniffer dogs, and hundreds of passengers left waiting.
They just said it was a security issue for flights coming in or going out. That's what I heard.
That security issue, a bomb threat. NAV Canada, which oversees air traffic control, says it was made aware of bomb threats affecting facilities in Ottawa, Montreal, Edmonton, Winnipeg, Calgary, and Vancouver early Thursday morning. Staff were moved to a safe place while the agency and police did their investigations, but some passengers caught off guard.
Do I have the opportunity even to leave right now because I don't feel safe here? And that was also going through my mind of I've got my 3 kids at home and now I'm sitting in an airport that has a bomb threat.
Others unaware there was even a problem until after they got to the airport.
We get down through security, everything's fine until we look to find our gate and we see that the hallway to our gate's blocked off. So at that point we looked at the screens and it showed that our flight to Vancouver was canceled.
NAVCAN isn't sharing more details about the nature of the threat, but Winnipeg RCMP say the airport there received a call around 6 a.m. local time that a bomb was in the control tower. Police did a search but found nothing. NAVCAN says operations are back to normal, but dozens of flights across the country and as far as Chicago and Washington delayed or canceled, leaving passengers in a lurch.
I'm probably around $500 to $600 just by not making my flight today.
Some passengers stuck at the Ottawa airport for hours longer than expected. Direct flights rebooked days from now. Others not able to get any help at all.
The investigation into exactly what happened is ongoing. NAV Canada says it's working with police and Transport Canada to get to the bottom of who made these threats. And in the meantime, they're asking air passengers to continue checking their flight status before they head to the airport. Nicole Williams, CBC News, Ottawa.
Even though Winnipeg's next election is still 15 months away, Mayor Scott Gillingham isn't being coy about whether he plans to run again. As CBC's Bartley Kivas reports, he's already made the decision.
It's almost been 3 years since Scott Gillingham was elected Winnipeg's mayor. Dispensing with suspense, he says he'll try for a second term next year.
There's a lot that we've accomplished in this term of office, but there's just so much more to do, and it's going to take more than a year and a half to complete it, and there's some projects I really want to see through.
According to Gillingham, those accomplishments include reopening Portage and Main to pedestrians, updating Winnipeg transit routes, and launching community action teams. His to-do list includes replacing the Arlington Bridge, widening Keniston Boulevard, extending Chief Peguis Trail, and completing upgrades to the city's largest sewage treatment plant.
That is the key to the city's future. We need it for residential development. We need it for commercial and business development as well.
A block away from City Hall, some Winnipeggers on their lunch break had trouble naming anything this mayor has done right or wrong.
I honestly have no idea. He was in Transcona, I think, on Canada Day, and we didn't even recognize him. We don't even know what he looked like.
The only thing I know about him right now is that he reopened Portage and Main, which was something that I agreed with, maybe for different reasons, but I'm happy that that happened.
Gillingham's relatively low profile may not matter much. No one has defeated an incumbent Winnipeg mayor since 1956, when Stephen Juba was first elected. That said, Gillingham's margin of victory in 2022 was small. He slipped past Glenn Murray by slightly more than 2 percentage points of the popular vote. CBC News reached out to Murray to see whether he intends to run again, but didn't hear back. Kevin Klein, who finished third in the 2022 mayoral race, also didn't comment. Sean Loney, who finished fourth, said he won't run again. Anyone thinking of taking on Gillingham has plenty of time to prepare. The next civic election in Winnipeg is slated for October 28th, 2026. Bartley Kivas, CBC News, Winnipeg.
As Winnipeg Community Centre struggle to attract and retain volunteers, the city hopes a new wage subsidy will help. The number of people willing to offer their time has plummeted by nearly half compared to before COVID. A city report recommends a new $250,000 annual grant to help centres hire staff to run programming.
People don't have the time, or they don't understand that this is how
you improve your community centers and your community is by volunteering. That sense of ownership, of belonging to a community center has really gone down in the last, I'm going to say 10 years or so.
The grant proposal is part of a new 20-year action plan to reform the city's community centers. The plan will be presented to the Executive Policy Committee next week. Riley back in now. And Riley, I can't help but worry about dogs' paws when it's this hot.
Yeah.
But a little reprieve might be coming in the form of some rain.
Yeah, we are looking at the potential, Brittany, as we get through the night tonight of some nocturnal thunderstorms in the Red River Valley. We've started to see some of that bubbling up into the western part of the province already. I'm going to start there with the radar and the watches and warnings. And this particular storm just on the Saskatchewan side of the border prompting a tornado warning into Saskatchewan, Redvers in particular, severe thunderstorm warning now spreading onto the Manitoba side, including Virden. This particular cell moving in a northeasterly direction toward Virden, toward the Trans-Canada Highway. So keep that in mind. It does appear to be losing a bit of steam, but certainly the potential for some strong winds, some hail, and some heavy rain as we get through the evening hours. More of a nocturnal event into the Red River Valley if we see any of that at all. I mean, I've got a fairly good chance of seeing some of that into the Red River Valley, but have a look at this patchwork quilt, if you will, of watches and warnings across the province. Severe thunderstorm watches in the north into Westman. Heat warning in place for northwestern Ontario and the Red River Valley. Air quality warnings and statements are part of the north as well. So just keep your eyes on the skies as we get through the next 24, 36 hours, particularly with the heat here. So you can see some of that thunderstorm activity pushing eastward as we get through into the overnight hours. That's why I say fairly good chance by the time we get to say 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, the further east you are, that you get maybe a few showers or a few rumbles of thunder into the overnight hours. So keep that in mind. This particular forecast model keeping the potential for some of that instability south of the city of Winnipeg, but I do think there is a chance that we see some of that in the city overnight into northwestern Ontario through the morning hours. And then as we get into Friday, we start a bit cloudier, but you'll notice this cold front sweeps through. This fuels another risk of thunderstorms as we get into the afternoon hours tomorrow, along with that hot, muggy weather with some cooler air north of that. Good recipe, particularly with some of the humidity that we're looking at tomorrow, seeing some more thunderstorms, potentially severe into the southeastern corner of the province tomorrow. What this cold front does is drag our temperatures back as we get into the weekend to something a little bit more seasonal and dries things out a little bit as well as we get into the day on Saturday and Sunday before we start to see things start to warm up again as we get into the week next week. So a bit of extra cloud as we get through Saturday. That's kind of the story of the weekend, is slightly cooler than today and what Friday will be, but you'll notice a bit of a reprieve in temperatures. So temperatures close to 30 degrees for the south, even exceeding 30 as we get through the day on Friday, 24 in Thompson. Brittany, 25 degrees for Saturday, 24 degrees on the way for Sunday.
Thank you, Riley.
You're welcome.
Well, are you looking for a new best friend? Winnipeg's Animal Services has too many dogs, and right now they're offering a doggy discount to make adopting a pup more affordable. More after the break. Winnipeg's Animal Services has too many dogs. The shelter is currently at capacity and full of furry friends in need of a new home. So right now, the city's offering a doggy discount to make adopting more affordable. The shelter has close to 40 dogs in their care, including Siri. She's one of more than 24 looking for a new home. The price includes a spay or neuter, updated vaccinations, and 1 year of dog licensing.
We do a pre-screening process. We assess, what your lifestyle's like, and we do our best to match up the dogs that we have in care with you and your lifestyle and your living situation.
You can stop by Animal Services and arrange for a doggy date to see if you find your match.
Double dose of the dog walking forecast because I shorted you out on this one yesterday. Midgie and Monty, thank you, Henry and Kimmy, for sending this cute pic in. One more for you. This is Oliver. Thank you, Anaya, for sending this picture in. You can keep sending yours to talkback at cbc.ca. So maybe a couple rumbles of thunder first thing in the morning. I think that wraps up by about 6 o'clock in the morning for Winnipeg. Up to 31 by the afternoon, 29 into the evening hours. Here's your long range really quickly. 25 degrees for Sunday, looking at 26 by Monday, and temperatures back up into the 30s by the middle of next week once again. Last week, after nearly 50 years, the iconic intersection of Portage and Main reopened to pedestrians.
But there may not have been anyone happier than Clay and Doreen Witherspoon. The happy couple is our daily lift.
You're doing it, yeah! How do you feel about crossing Portage and Main?
Pretty exciting.
And Mom, how do you feel about crossing Portage and Main? Great.
That's their daughter, Laureen, speaking. The 89 and 87-year-old crossed the intersection for the first time in decades. Laureen sent us these videos. She says her parents used to cross back in the day and were sad when it closed. She says her parents thrilled about the reopening and were counting down the days.
Now, the two are unable to get around on their own anymore, and the barriers were limiting with people with accessibility issues in some cases, so they jumped at the chance to cross as soon as the intersection was open once again.
Look at those happy faces. And if there was ever any doubt, Laureen says that they were all on Team Open
Yes.
when it came up. So glad to see that they got their first crossing in. Thanks so much for sending that in. Hopefully everybody stays dry tonight.
Yes.
We will see you
Your
back
eyes
here
on the
tomorrow.
skies. See ya.